Hello and welcome to Dice Masters United. I'm Spug.
I'm Ben.
I'm James.
And I'm Peter.
Coming up in this episode.
The first major test of the new modern meta is in the books, so we'll be reflecting on the good, the bad, and the ugly from Dice Fight XL3.
With US Nats and Worlds just around the corner, we'll be looking ahead to a bumper weekend of Dice Masters action and making some predictions about what will fare well.
And we'll be picking over some recent rulings and discussing what they mean for some of the big and less big cards in New Modern.
All that and more in the latest episode of Dice Masters United.
Okay, everybody. Well, welcome back. It's good to have you with us. It feels like a very long time since we last did this, and indeed it is, because the last time we did this was, well, it feels like about 6 weeks ago, wasn't it? Because we recorded a bunch of the review episodes before everybody disappeared on their holidays over the summer period. So, guys, welcome back.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
And welcome back. But we must unfortunately start with some very sad news for the Dice Masters community. Many of you will know Ron Hopkins, who was a Dice Masters player in California, and he streamed on Twitch under the tag Ronathan Plays and Probes, or Ronathan PXPX. And his wife posted last week on the CR Game Room Discord that I have terrible news and I didn't know how else to share. Ron passed away last night. I was with him in our living room. His heart stopped and the paramedics were unable to resuscitate him. I've lost the love of my life. I wanted you all to know because he absolutely loved everyone here. He was so honoured and excited to join the channel and loved Wednesday's chats. He loved games, Dice Masters, Magic, and each of you. You brought him so much joy, and for that I'm eternally grateful. I'll miss him forever, and my heart is broken. Please remember the good memories and think of him fondly. I know I always will. Really shocking and desperately sad news coming there, guys. Had you played much with Ronathan over the last couple of years or so?
I made
A few times. Always a pleasure to play against. It's very sad.
Yeah. James, you did a video with him, didn't you, on our channel?
Yeah, about traffic lights. Yeah, we sort of had the idea at the same time, more or less. And he was a delight to work with. Yeah, he was a nice bloke. Didn't know him very well, but he was, what I did know was very nice.
No, and he definitely seems like he was a big player in that kind of South California region, some of those LA guys over there. So our thoughts are very much with his family, his friends, and of course the guys who played with him over there. He'll be very much missed in the Dice Masters community. Rest in peace, Ron Hopkins. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do now is look back to Dice Fight XL, which, if you weren't paying attention, you won't know that it took place over the weekend just gone. There were 18 players, and it was a no-holds-barred modern mashup. So there were no bans. It was very much a red event, and everyone was going at it. But for probably the first sort of big event, really, that tested the new modern meta since Superman Kryptonite Crisis landed, and WizKids announced that the rotation was going to involve just the 3 latest sets, and we were all playing, and I think we had, well, maybe a mixed time based on some of the feedback I was hearing.
I think
on social media
we might have bookended the table
from one end to the other. Peter, how was your day? What did you play? How did you go?
Well, unlike some people, I played Master Mode because it seemed the more fun option between that and Barry Allen, which was also very popular.
Sure was.
I had a pretty good time. I understand that people might have a problem with current format, and I also had some problems with it, but still, I just rolled with it. Nothing you can do about the shortcomings of current modern. So I just went with it, and I did fairly well. Only lost to Spug because he tapped into the Speed Force and killed me on turn 4 before I had a chance to do anything.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. That was certainly one of my shorter games.
It's very nearly turn 3. If you hadn't missed that Barry roll. But I played. Who did I play? I played Dan Lowe in the first round. He was playing a frontline team, and he had like the Deathbird with Deadly as a removal.
Nice, yeah.
But it doesn't work that well against Master Mold,
right?
Because you get a token when you kill it.
Of course, yeah.
It is a way of removing the Master Mold tokens, though.
It is, yeah.
You can force.
Yeah, but you can still only remove one at a time, and if I attack with Master Mode along with it, I get a new token. So it's hard to win that race because you need more characters than your opponent with the front line, and it's very hard. Once that Master Mode is out and keeps circulating, you can't keep up with the character count.
Yeah, you need a force block, then really. Force block global, then you can block multiple.
Yeah, that would work better.
Or is it the Plastic Man global that lets you block multiple things with one character?
Yeah, that also would have worked, but it's expensive global.
That is expensive.
Yeah,
that's also not new modern.
No, not anymore. No, so
apart from that, it's perfect.
It's otherwise it's beautiful, but we need a character that can block multiple characters with Deadly. Like Medusa back in the day.
Oh,
that would be good.
Yeah, that is.
Is that something that gives Deadly?
Only to.
Well, Wolverine can give it to sidekicks, can't he?
There's a Mr. Sinister that can do it with a global, right?
What's the speed on that?
Yeah, I think you have to pay 2.
Because the Monsieur Mallah lets you block 2.
Yeah,
he's a good little minky, isn't he? Anyway, Peter, carry on.
Yes, and then I played Dana, who was running Barry Allen.
Right.
But I got set up faster, so I won that one. And
so you were playing a very sort of aggressive Master Mode.
Fairly aggressive, yeah. I was looking to buy him on turn 3 at the latest.
Okay, yeah.
Generally, and just get him out there, and then I had some tech to maybe remove some stuff, but it was mostly just getting Master Mode out and just attacking with a bunch of tokens for the win. And I had Vulcan that gives all of the opponent's non-fist characters -2 defense, so that would clear all their sidekicks and like the tokens from Poison Ivy and such. Would all be removed, and then I could just swing through with a couple of tokens and win.
Yeah, nice, and it obviously worked effectively. You ended up 4-1, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got 3rd place, even though I had the exact same record as Danny. But he's a nice guy, so I don't mind pinching behind him.
Not at all. Any particular moments that merit mentioning on the podcast in terms of good plays or interesting stuff that you saw or nice little combos, that kind of thing?
I will say it was my first time using investigative journalism, and that is really good.
Oh, did you play it much?
Yeah. I bought it in almost all of my matches, except the one against
me.
At what point when do you buy it? Sorry, Ben, but when do you buy that die? Like early on, or?
Yeah, I mostly bought it early on. If I didn't have enough for a Master Mold or something, then I would get that, and it really helps with churning.
So that's a 5 cost, right?
Yeah.
And it enables you to how many dice do you get? You get millions of dice, don't you?
You get 4 dice, and you can roll up to 3 of them, and you prep the rest. But mostly, I would just prep all 4 of them, unless there was something I desperately needed that turn.
Okay.
And then you're setting yourself up for a pretty good turn the next turn.
Yeah.
I found that when I bought it not early, it meant that I'd already fielded a bunch of stuff because I was playing Barry, obviously. Not in this particular tournament, previously. And it meant that I didn't have the dice to draw. So the upshot of it was that I got to prep whatever I bought, but I didn't really get the full value from it. So I think you kind of have to buy it early. It's a good idea to buy it if you miss your main thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But otherwise, I'm not so sure about it.
Yeah, you don't want to buy it late game because you're probably already have most of the stuff fielded that you want to have fielded, and you're fielding a bunch of sidekicks with Mr. Sinister, so you don't have that much in your bag.
Yeah,
if things are going right.
Unless, of course, you've got one of those teams where it ended up with loads of dice in your bag, and you want to churn through them more quickly.
Yeah,
which can obviously sometimes happen. Then that could be pretty useful. Good stuff. But overall, you sound like you're pretty happy. Sound like you had a good day. So
I did. Yep.
Master Mold did some stuff. Ben, how about you? How was your day? What did you play first up?
I don't want to talk about it. I played Barry, Alan. Mainly because I didn't want to play Master Mode because I thought it was too strong.
Okay.
So I played Barry.
Yeah, well, the thing... Okay, so, yeah, well, yes, I've been testing with some people. I don't want to play the thing that I think is the best team in the meta because I didn't want to, ruin what they're going to play for Worlds, essentially. Yeah. So, played the thing that I've been trying to beat them with, even though I've lost, 10 million matches with it. So, yeah, I played Barry, which is fine, sort of. The thing that I did with it that I thought was interesting was use the rare collector, and then that was a pivot piece with you buy the rare collector, and then you can field lots of super rare Robins with it, and then KO Master Mold tokens. And then
right.
That turns out you can only use the rare collector once per turn.
So
that was useless.
Not so good.
And then the other thing, the other piece I put in the last minute. I played the Wong, which was really good.
The what?
Yeah,
the Wong, the 2-cost one, where if you pay a master, you field it. It's a bit of removal. I found that actually worked pretty well. I used that because I wanted the 5th for Barry Allen.
Yeah.
That sort of worked. And then I put in the Brainiac 5 as the kind of Federal Dreadnought range piece to clear the way for Barry.
Yeah.
Which sort of worked as well. My idea actually was to try and not buy Barry and use the kind of Orion, Robin, Wong removal stuff with the Brainiac and then the stats of those 3 characters.
Yeah, yeah.
To kind of get through enough damage, which worked on some against. In one of my games, I bought the Brainiac and then a couple of Orions and some Robins, and then just won that way.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, most of the games I just had to go for Barry, and then hope I roll it, and then I didn't roll it. So, yep.
So it ended badly. You didn't do that badly. You still ended up 3-2, didn't you?
The worst game I played was against James. I'll let him play. Annoyingly, he made me play.
To be fair, Ben,
he made me play a game to tire me out before he played me, like a side game. He's like, "Oh yeah, someone is not playing someone because of a bye. You go and play them, Ben." And then I won that game, and then he was like, "Oh, let me just win in 3 turns."
I was just being nice. I wanted the person who would have had the bye to have somebody to play with. So I was just doing a good thing.
So the worst thing was I won that game and then lost against James. So the 2 people I played against that round both got victories and I got nothing.
Entirely fair. You didn't. To be fair, you didn't really play against me. You didn't really have a chance. Didn't have much chance, did you?
Well, I missed a Barry roll,
and I just rolled a bunch of sidekicks.
You rolled 6 sidekicks, I believe.
If it's any consolation, Ben, that is actually the only game I won. So
no, that makes it much worse.
I'm glad.
It certainly does for your buck holds, doesn't it, or whatever they call it, in the sense of
so
if you
bloody annoying.
Yeah.
Can I just mention that if you want to see some of that Wong in action, I think Jason used it in a video that we made the other day. And if you want to see the collector in action, I used it to field. I think I used it to field a. Oh, what's that one? Is it Starro? Yeah, Starro that steals psychics. That was great.
Oh, that's good.
Nice.
You have to buy that. You have to buy the 5 cost, but it was very satisfying. And that might even have been against Ben. I'm not sure.
It's only once per turn. I thought it was like I guess the other collector was only once per turn.
Mm-hmm.
You only need a 4-character swing once. But,
yeah, I know, but it doesn't work with the anyway.
No, not with Robin. Yeah, I thought it might be more than once, but no.
Because it has an awaken trigger, which is much harder to do than just. Anyway.
Yeah. Although there's quite a few spin-ups now. There are quite a few spin-up globals in the meta with Superman Kryptonite Crisis. There's, I think, a couple, aren't they, in there? And there's also Mutation, which you can use to spin down something else, spin up something else. So there's a few out there if you want to do some Awaken action. So you ended up 3-2, Ben, and then a little grumpy at the end. But we'll go into that later. In terms of dissecting
very
the modern,
okay, salty as you like.
we'll move on to that later when we sort of round up the meta talk generally. James, you obviously spoiled slightly how you did in terms of winning 1 game out of 5, but you what did you play? Yeah, what happened? You played Barry as well, eh?
I did play Barry. What happened was, so I've been like making loads of videos and sort of semi-testing. Like I've probably prepared more, I suppose. Not that I ever actually, look at the team before I play it, but through making videos, I have played more games than I've played in a very long time. So I was sort of vaguely prepared for the tournament, and then what happened was, and I'm sure Spuggy will identify with this, the night before. I decided to completely change everything, and I made.
I mean, can I just point out that I posted my team at least 24 hours before the tournament began and left it at that.
Time,
and that clearly that's time, my modus operandi, isn't it?
That's not strictly true, no. But this time, yeah.
Actually, Ben, you performed a miracle in the sense of you managed to, I think, file your team on exactly the time that was the deadline, didn't you? I think to the very minute.
Yeah.
So, congrats for that.
Well, busy guy.
What happened was, I made a load of changes, and some of them were good, and one of them in particular, actually 2 of them were terrible. So I had it going, so it was quite a fast Barry team, and then I decided to get rid of almost everything and just go all in on, Turbo Barry and put the extra prep global in so that I had Mr. Sinister and 2 prep globals and a spin down global, which meant that I could almost always buy Barry or prep, not just buy, but also prep Barry on turn 2. So I'd be rolling him on turn 3, which is all well and good. That was fine. Those were good changes. But I also added Robin for the fielding because Barry has 2 fielding costs on 2 faces, which is kind of annoying. And I was going to include the
free fielding global.
Yes.
Robin. Yeah.
I was going to put Brainiac on for board clear, and he's got horrible fielding costs. So then I put Robin on because he's good. He's good removal as well. And then I got rid of Brainiac, which was a bit stupid. But I kept Robin so that I could field Barry for free. Yeah. However, the real problem was that I completely got rid of the Force Attack Global that had been on pretty much every iteration of my Barry team up to that point. And my removal took the form of Shazam, which
and how much does he cost?
Terribly clever. I thought this will be hilarious if I buy Shazam, but the truth is you're never going to buy 2 7 costs in a game.
2 7 costs.
Yes. So I sort of replaced Brainiac with Shazam, which was just ridiculously stupid because 7 is a reach once. It's not going to happen twice, especially if you're fielding a bunch of sidekicks for Barry.
We can talk about that a bit because I think that Shazam still has a little bit of value. Yeah,
I don't think it's a bad card by any means. I don't know if it combines terribly well with Barry Allen though, because it's quite expensive. Anyway, basically, I destroyed my own team I self-destructed just before the tournament. Removing the force attack was absolutely the worst thing I could have done. For future reference, we don't need to go into that in too much detail, but I feel like that was at the source. That was the main source of my problem. However, even if I'd had it, because when you had it, Spug, I had access to it, and you used it much better than me. So I'm not saying I wouldn't have done that much better, because I'm crap. I'm crap with force attacks. I'm just not very good. So that's a learning point for me. However, unlike Ben, I didn't get really salty, because my main priority was for the tournament to run smoothly, and I think it did. So
yeah, it did.
So I think it went okay, and I didn't really care. Well, I cared a bit, but I didn't really care that much how I did. And and I met. I don't know how to pronounce his Discord name, but it's the guy on Discord who's Rinse. I guess it's the French version of Rinse, right?
Yeah.
Spug will do it for me, because his pronunciation is much better than mine. My apologies. And that was a real pleasure. The last game I played was with him, and he was great. So that was awesome. Not. I mean, everybody was great, but he was particularly great. So
he is a top guy. He is a top guy. I quite agree with that. We didn't play on.
He was really nice, actually. Yeah, I played him.
He's a great chap. What was he playing?
Master Mold.
Oh, nice. Very good.
Yeah, it was good. I really enjoyed it.
Good stuff. And I guess, well, do we need to ask what your champagne moment was then, James?
Slapping Ben in the face and playing with Ronsauvant. And I must say, I got roundly slapped by the Breath Weapon X boys as well.
Brilliant. Both of them,
and both of them in succession.
The set. Well done.
And each of them went down to the last. I mean, to the last turn. All games go to the last turn, but each of them was very, very close in the end.
Right.
I basically got, if I didn't win quickly, and the only time I won quickly was against Ben, I got really bogged down because I didn't have affordable board clear, and I didn't have force attack because I'm stupid.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. So they came, they took a massive chunk of damage, and then they came back and eventually beat me by about one life again. So it was all good.
Good stuff. Ben, you were going to make a point about Shazam. What did you want to say?
Well, do you want to talk about the meta? We're going to go into meta analysis.
Well, should we talk about me first?
Let's talk about his amazing victory.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Actually, I'll save the Shazam
for later,
where I think it might be useful for that.
Yeah, no. Let's. I think, as some would say, let's put a pin in that, shall we, for the moment, and come back to Shazam in a moment. But well, if as you asked, I did okay. I went 5-0, won the tournament, which was great. So I was playing a kind of very aggressive Barry Allen team that, I mean, I can't believe that I was even doing this, but that prepped on turn 1 and then used Mr. Sinister so that you can roll ideally, 6 dice on turn 2, and you've got a psychic in the field, so you can almost always buy old Barry on turn 2 and get him in rotation straight away, and then just use Mr. Sinister as much as you can to keep sidekicks in your field and keep your bag lean. And probably 2 or 3 of my games, Barry was the only die I bought, which, to be honest, was a bit boring because it's not particularly satisfying just buying 1 die and then winning. I mean, Peter, we've already talked about this, I think, but our game lasted, less than 8 minutes?
Yeah.
It was like
over before it began. I was like,
it was
what?
Crazy.
What's happening?
Yeah. And I think probably about 6 of those minutes was you thinking about what you're going to buy on turn 3, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was deciding between Master Mold and Vulcan. But then I failed to pull either what I bought, so it didn't really matter in the end. But I think Vulcan would have been the better choice because that would have killed all your sidekicks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that would have been. But basically, I had a few other bits of tech as well. I had the 2-cost Overcrushing Beast, who I think pairs nicely with Barry Allen, because obviously Barry buffs everything, and if they've got Overcrush already, that's pretty cool, and they're nice and cheap. And then Starro, the common Starro that steals your opponent's sidekicks when he attacks, which was fun too. And then I had a dash of Mr. Mind, the rare Mr. Mind from Superman Kryptonite Crisis, who I put on basically because I was thinking that you're going to see loads of Barry Allens on the other side of the board, and I thought, well, maybe I could just buy Mr. Mind and use him to copy Barry Allen's when attacks ability. And actually, I did manage to do that on one of my turns. So, James, we played it first up, didn't we? And that was
that went well.
that didn't go so well for you. And then I played Face the Duke, which is Dave from the reserve pool from back in the day,
past,
which is great to meet him. We hadn't met or spoken before, and that was a real pleasure. He was an absolute gent to play against, and but that game was pretty quick, to be honest. He hasn't played much in the modern meta, if at all, so he wasn't really quite up to speed, maybe with what was going on. But that was a real pleasure to play him. Then I think we played Peter, and then I had then weirdly in round 4 I ended up playing the only other unbeaten player at that time, which was Danny, Nefarious Broadcaster, who very kindly, and a big shout out to Danny for providing the amazing mat that he had prepared and sent out as a prize, because we weren't going to be doing any prizing for this. We just wanted it to be for the fun so we could keep it free, but he very kindly offered to do that. So massive thanks to Danny. It was a real pleasure to have that, so thank you. And but weirdly, Danny and I had done a bit of testing earlier in the week, so we'd played each other's teams already, so we kind of knew what to expect. And my team had gone quite well against him. He was playing Master Mold, but it was a little bit slower than my team, so I was fairly confident. But we did have a close one there. And then so I went into the last round as the only unbeaten player, but fearing that if I lost I'd probably get knocked down to like third or something, because that always seems to happen if someone loses in the last unnecessary round at that point. And I played Matt Brewer, who again, another player I hadn't met, but it was so great playing against him. He was he's a fantastic player who's been playing since the days of AVX. I've seen him in the various 2-team takedowns and stuff that have been going on over the last couple of years, and he's a very, very canny player. And actually we had a fabulous game that I really enjoyed, because it was real nip and tuck thinky stuff, which wasn't the case for all of my games over the course of that day. Basically, because he managed to get out he had the super rare Wonder Woman that stops the when attacks and the when fielded abilities, but he also bought my Arctic Breath, which I had put on basically because it's got a +1 fist pump. I just wanted to put that on there in case I needed 1 extra damage to get me over the line at some point. But he bought my Arctic Breath, and I was like, well, why has he bought that? I thought maybe he's going to stun my Barry Allen or something so I could attack with it. But actually what he did was he got his Wonder Woman in the field and then used my Arctic Breath to stun his Wonder Woman. Nice. So that I couldn't force attack her off the field, which is really clever. And I think presented me with a massive problem, because I was like, well, how on earth am I going to win? I had a mutation in basic action, so I bought a mutation hoping to swap it out, but he was keeping nothing in his used pile, so when it came round I wasn't getting the opportunity to do that. I ended up buying a Doomsday. I put a Doomsday on the team mainly because of the force attack, but he also does have Overcrush as well, and he's a big die, and managed to get one of those through to get a bit of damage because it rolled on the good side. But then finally he played his Barry Allen, and I managed to get that off the field. He attacked with it, and then it was in my use pile for the next turn, where I had a Starro and a Mr. Mind and a mutation. So I was able to mutate out his Wonder Woman and put in the Barry Allen. Nice. And then use my Mr. Mind to copy his Barry Allen, and then also use my own Barry Allen. So he got the buff from my Barry Allen and his Barry Allen. So everything got buffed twice, and then Starro stole two of his sidekicks as well. So that kind of that did the job. But it was a really good game, and I definitely thought that he was going to win. And it was just a lucky roll at the end on my part that managed to swing it. So that was fab. So Matt, thanks very much. And yeah, you go Seahawks. Got to say that. Yeah. He'll know what I mean.
Is this a sports thing?
It is a sport. It's a sports ball thing. Yeah, it is. So that was good. So yeah, let's have a bit of meta chat, shall we? Who wants to go first, Ben?
This meta sucks.
Why?
Okay, so the main problem is the I think Peter dubbed what did he dub it? The ultra fast, what was the Barry thing he said?
The Turbo Barry.
Turbo Barry, and that method of getting Barry is a massive problem, in my opinion, for the meta. Not only for Barry, who I don't think is particularly a problem. I mean, Barry's very lucky, but also being able to get Master Mold on turn 2 and prepped, or more likely Master Mold on turn 2 with just basically throwing 6 dice in your bag. So the way you do that is you prep at least once, maybe twice on your first turn and save 2 energy for the Mr. Sinister Global. So that on turn 2 you have 5 dice rolled plus a 1 from Sinister plus a 1 from at least 5 dice rolled, or 6. Plus the Psychic in the field and the Mr. Sinister. So 6. Or potentially 7 dice with 1 Psychic in the field as well. That lets you buy Master Mold or Barry, and then either prep it round or it goes in the bag with a bunch of stuff. And that variance is so limited. The fact that Barry Allen and Master Mold basically need nothing else other than sidekicks in the field means that the game is who can get that bought earliest, who can roll it the earliest, and then who can basically just keep their bag empty of all stuff because they're sinistering sidekicks. The fact there's no psychic hate means your bags are so thin that getting anything out is a problem, and basically it just becomes a luck fest where whoever rolls best wins, or whoever can manage to pull the Master Mold out from their bag or Barry out from their bag. There are a couple of things that help with the Barry Allen, which is why I don't think Barry Allen is necessarily as much of a problem. Stuff like the One Woman and stuff like Vulcan that Peter chose. Master Mold really doesn't suffer from those problems, which is why, in my opinion, Master Mold's the best thing. And is a huge problem in the meta because, there's very little you can do about it. It just means there's no point in running anything else other than that, because you can't control it, so you may as well try and rush to beat it. And it's a little bit like the Vicious Struggle, where basically whoever rolls the best Vicious Struggle quickest with the energy they need wins.
I mean, it's really the lack of a kind of distraction / blink back static field global, isn't it?
Force block, I reckon.
Or a force block, A
force block may be okay. A distraction global, I think, would be more important because not just to stop the Master Mold from attacking. I think that's negligible. The thing that it stops is the force attacks. There's so many force attack globals that if you try and control something, because we have some quite strong control pieces with Drax and Typhoid. You can theoretically get out before they get their Master Mold or Barry out. But they can just force attack them.
Exactly.
And there's very little you can do apart from the best thing you can do is, well, there's 2 things you can do. You can KO that piece, which removes it anyway for their turn.
Exactly.
Or you can use a True Believer global, which costs 2 masks, which is a lot anyway, to kind of swallow it up off the field, which we also found out doesn't work with the Drax, which we're going to get into later.
Yes, exactly. Pay 2 masks once during your turn. You remove one of your characters from the field zone until the end of the turn. You can.
So if they force attack your Typhoid Mary, you can pay 2 masks and swallow up the Typhoid Mary so it doesn't attack. You can also do this with Drax, although we found out this Drax leaves the field, it doesn't remember what it chose. So
no, that is for later.
We'll get to later. Anyway, I was very down because traditionally I'm not very good at rolling dice. And why I like this game is that it was so much dependent on bag management and good bag control, and actually effectively what this is a very interesting thing about how the PXG Hulk meta worked with in contrast to this meta. like with the PXG Hulk, you always wanted to buy Hulk and then still maintain your ramp.
That's right, yeah.
Here,
don't need to.
You don't care.
No, exactly. Yeah.
You just shove Master Mold into your bag with 8 psychics, and then hope you pull it quick enough.
It'll come out. Don't worry.
And it's like so against what I do that I always find myself being like, I could buy Barry this turn, but actually I could get perfect bag management instead.
Yeah.
So I'll do that. And actually, that's not the right thing.
Don't do that. That doesn't work.
The best thing is just to put Barry in with like 7 other dice and then hope you pull it, which I never do. So.
No.
But you'll either pull it one turn or the next, will you? And in the meantime, you can use Mr. Sinister. It's all Mr. Sinister's fault, in fact.
Yeah.
Rare Mr. Sinister. You can just rely on that to both churn and ramp and cull. It's ridiculous, and it provides your win con for you.
With the characters out in the field, and also so little psychic.
That is also true, yeah. But I mean, the other thing with some of those removal options, like things like the Black Widow that spins down your level 1 characters, or the Pip the Troll that spins down stuff, or the Spider-Man that spins down stuff, it gives your opponent energy. And what are they going to use with that generic energy? Oh, we can use Mr. Sinister.
Yeah, funnily enough, we were worried about that kind of the removal being so harsh, going straight to use. Yeah. But actually, we didn't consider the fact that it doesn't go straight to use; it goes to your.
That's right. Goes to your reserve.
Reserve,
and you can spend it. Yeah, so it's really interesting. James, what are your thoughts?
I mostly agree with Ben. Shockingly, I don't think I take it quite as badly as Ben because he's better than me, and so I don't suffer.
It's also your playstyle is to be like very aggro, like
it is, but strangely, I didn't like it that much because I do feel perhaps not as deeply, but I do feel I think what you felt was that it was just a bit too luck based. Your comments about King of Tokyo seemed appropriate.
Wait a minute. Are you
that was so salty.
Are you suggesting that I won because I was lucky?
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
you had
I was very lucky, and I quite agree.
Masterful use of the force attacks, but
no, there was a lot of luck too. But sorry, James, carry on.
I mostly agree with Ben, but I didn't take it quite as badly. But I do think there were some interesting things. Like I quite enjoyed playing the D-Ken game. I'm not really sure that it's any kind of. I am sure that it's not a long-term strategy. But the rare D-Ken that whilst it's in your used pile.
Oh yeah, tell the listeners what you did with that.
No more than 7 damage during an opponent's turn.
Yeah,
this was another one of the positive additions to my team's shake-up. So there were good things and bad things. He was really good. I mean, to be fair, I got it from someone else. Somebody did it to me, and I thought, I'll put that on my team and do it to other people. Basically, I think the qualms really before the tournament, before actually using it, were that, bloody hell, having to keep the die in your use pile. Well, first of all, that's not as difficult as it might sound.
No,
because because you're keeping your psychics in the field, so it becomes okay. It'll get sucked into your bag, but then you just hope to roll it to energy and spend it, and it'll be back there in time for the opponent's next turn, or
just
you
not
buy
field
another
it.
One.
Or just not field it,
or just
yeah. So it's not that hard, and maybe more importantly, I think the best use of it, and this is, to be fair, not how I used it, but the best use of it would be if your opponent is about to have their massive turn, and you're almost ready to go, but you're a turn behind, and you if you can manage to buy that and still keep up your preparations to win, so you completely throw them off their game. You basically delay them by a turn, which could be just long enough for you to win. To be clear, I did not manage to do that. All I did was stall the game out for another 4 turns or 3 until somebody did 3 lots of 7 damage, and then I died. But it was fun.
It's one of the more effective answers to Barry, isn't it? Actually, I think is one of the things we learned. Even though, as you say, it's it is a bit of a kind of a Hail Mary in a sense of you use it. It's the last act of a desperate man.
It could have saved me.
But it did. I mean, I need to do 10 damage to you. I could do 10 damage to you because I had enough stuff in the field to do it. But you had a deacon in your use pile, so I couldn't. Basically had to wait until I could just force 3 damage through, and then do the last 7 on a subsequent turn. But it did definitely buy you a bit of leeway, without a doubt. I mean, obviously, Deacon the card can still be blanked by using Typhoid or something like that, or you could use something like Mutation to swap it into the field.
But if they're blanking your
tricksy.
Deacon, they're not blanking your Barry, are they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The Deacon is effective against Barry because the problem with Barry is you have to commit.
Mm-hmm.
When you attack with Barry, you have to attack with Barry for him to work.
Yeah.
Second thing is you have to attack with multiple things to get the buff.
Yeah.
And they can start just letting extra things through that you've used to get the buff up.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as well against Master Mold.
And then they'll probably have a couple of bad turns if they've attacked a load of stuff off and it's all gone into their use pile and then into their bag. It's harder for them to recover.
If I'd had a force attack, this didn't come up obviously because I didn't. But if I'd had a force attack, it might be useful to use Barry against Master Mold in conjunction with a force attack. If you force 3 tokens to attack instead of doing 15, it does 7. I don't know. Probably not enough, but
it does. But the problem with that is you're using energy that you need to use for Mr. Sinister.
Sure.
Yeah.
But Deacon is probably one of the best solutions I found. In that kind of Master Mold Barry testing that we've been doing.
Yeah, he's an interesting one indeed. And he's a 5 cost, isn't he? So
he is a 5 cost.
Yeah, but
his stats are all right, and he's a villain, just in case villainous pact and all that.
The other thing, main problem with Mr. Sinister, one of the other things Mr. Sinister feeds is the Dark Phoenix Global.
Right, yeah.
You have bodies 2 KO, and that keeps energy in rotation, right? Because it goes into prep area, then you can feel psychic next turn.
That's right,
Mr. Sinister energy. So it's doing even more work.
That's right. Yeah, without the Dark Phoenix Global, I wouldn't have been able to do what I was doing in pretty much every game, which was buying Barry on turn 2.
Yep.
Because I was only rolling 6 dice, and that wouldn't have been enough ordinarily.
You can have a spin down. I did it with a spin down. I didn't often use Dark Phoenix.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But in some ways, I prefer the Dark Phoenix one because it pings off a sidekick that then you can roll the next turn. So it's not disappearing into your bag. So you've got more chance of drawing Barry next turn.
True.
And chomping through your bag. Peter, what are your reflections?
I didn't face a rare Deacon, but I imagine that could be very effective if you can manage to keep it in the use pile because I'm swinging with a bunch of tokens and okay, sure, I'll take the 7 and then you'll need 3 turns to finish them off instead of just the 1. I was actually running 2 force attack globals.
Wow.
Because
you had one of mine.
Yes, in fact, I think when we played, we had almost
3 different energy types that would force an attack. It was beautiful.
Ridiculous.
The reason that I did that is I was running Vulcan for the force attack, but I figured if, let's say, someone would first use a Typhoid Mary to blank my Vulcan and then field a super rare Wonder Woman, I would be in trouble because my Master Mold would only be creating tokens on KO.
Yeah.
And that's not super efficient.
Yeah.
So just in case someone would think to do that, I figured I'd bring an extra force attack on the Slinger's basic action.
Did anybody?
No. I didn't face anyone doing that, but it was also nice to have 2 different energy options for a force attack.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Because you never know what you're going to get. So,
presumably you also ran the Vulcan because he's good, like...
Yeah, I also ran Vulcan because of the actual character, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you wanted to... You use his ability of making everything minus 2D, or all non-fist characters minus 2D.
Yeah.
To remove stuff from the field.
I cleared many a field with that.
Yeah. One thing that we should obviously mention is that while the meta might not be particularly satisfying in terms of a cerebral chess match at the moment, particularly when it comes to Barry and Mastermold just flinging themselves at the opponent, we obviously are going to be getting a big piece in the form of the Distraction Global in Secret Wars. We've already seen that spoiled by WizKids. The Thor Frog, isn't it, I think, is on a basic
Throg.
action with the Distraction Throg, with the Distraction Global that pay a mask attacking character die is no longer attacking, which is going to make a big difference.
The other important thing to think about is the fact that actually a lot of the thought process has gone out of the game playing, but actually gone into the team building.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There are so many pieces that you can use with Mastermold and Barry, and then what do you use as the one-off tech pieces against whatever you need? Because essentially, you have, with both Mastermold and Barry, you have that one character to win. You need 2 prep globals and a Sinister, so that's 4 pieces.
Mm.
And everything else is basically up for grabs.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So that's interesting in a way. Yeah, Vulcan is a good piece. The thing I want to talk about with Shazam is that I wonder if on a Barry team, bringing Shazam as a tech in the mirror match, or not mirror match, against Mastermold. Because Mastermold, I don't think Barry's a problem. I think if it was just Barry, I think that'd be more than easily dealable with. I think Mastermold is much more of a problem, and I wonder if Shazam is basically the only answer you could have in a match against Mastermold.
So he gives all your characters range, right? He's the Venerable Dreadnought,
Range
and he
2.
gives them all range 2, doesn't he? Yeah,
Range 2, which means you can ping off tokens much faster. One of the problems with both Deacon and the Force Attack against Mastermold is that Mastermold wants to be attacking, and when it attacks, it leaves a token behind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So with the Deacon team, like if you have a Deacon in your use pile, they can attack with the 3 tokens and the Mastermold, and then still have a token in reserve for next time. You have to deal with those tokens.
Yeah.
They carry the Mastermold, create another token. So they have 2 tokens left behind, and they've lost 3, dealing you 7 damage, but still have 2 for next turn.
Yeah.
And that's why Deacon isn't as effective against Mastermold. So you need some on your turn removal en masse, essentially, against the Mastermold tokens. And we don't have that Intimidator that really works.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. All the Intimidators, the cheapest Intimidator currently is 4, isn't it, I think?
Tombstone, And I have had some success basically buying 3 Tombstones and nothing else.
Wow. Okay.
And trying to
with his 4 cost field.
And trying to be, if you have
Robin.
The other problem, Mastermold, the fielding should be a problem.
Yeah.
But actually it makes no difference as well.
Well, even because if you and you can play Robin if you want. Yeah.
I was running Super Lois Lane.
Or Lois Lane, yeah.
Yeah, and that was actually, she's really good because, I mean, sure, she discounts the Master Mold, but you also have other stuff that might be 1 to field, and you can still save a bunch of energy on that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the long run.
Yeah, so Lois Lane, she makes the first character you field?
You can choose once per turn to field the character for free.
Yeah, so you can use the Robin Global and then her to get 2 characters for free.
Yeah.
So actually the fielding cost problem with Master Mold, which is a problem, isn't a problem anymore because there's so many of those free to field.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just very irritating dealing with Master Mold.
He's tough, and Barry is tough too. There's definitely some good stuff out there. But one other thing that I should mention that Matt Brewer did in our game, which I thought actually was really quite a smart move too, was to play, buy virtually straight away, I think it was his first purchase, was to buy a Nefarious Broadcast, which obviously prevents any globals from being used. And actually that's pretty massive against somebody who just wants to save energy on their turn, so that on their opponent's turn they can use the Mr. Sinister Global, because Nefarious Broadcast, if they activate it, then that 2 energy is just going to go to waste.
I also had that on my team.
Yeah.
You did.
I hated it.
Yeah, that's one of the things. That's one of the things that I've been working on as well, as a means to obviously stop the Master Mold. Yeah, I've done a lot of technically against Master Mold. And I still haven't been able to beat it, which is why it's so annoying. The problem in the various broadcasts is we lost the Becky Global. So you can't get it in turn 2. So they've already bought the Master Mold. So you can stop their subsequent Mr. Sinister uses.
Yeah.
So that's how you get like the Master Mold with 6 Psychics in your bag. But then if they can still pull Master Mold, because you're still pulling 4 out of 7 or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. It's interesting because the threat of Nefarious Broadcast is really interesting because if you see that your opponent's going to be rolling it next turn or they might be rolling it next turn, you don't want to leave any energy left on your side because you don't want it to go to waste. It was always the same in the old PXG / Elf Thief days, wasn't it? That you didn't really want to leave stuff for your opponent to potentially nick.
It is, but again, then that's why with stuff like that, that's why if you were the Master Mold player, all you do is just field as many Psychics as you can. And then just not care, never care them, just leave them in the field.
Yeah, exactly. So
anyway, I'm very salty about this. So
well,
as you can tell.
The good news is it won't be like this for very long because the meta will change once again when Secret Wars comes out.
It will be like this for Worlds, so should we have some advice for people who are going to Worlds?
We should. Shall we move on to that particular segment? All right, so as we are recording, we are just a couple of weeks away from, well, not only US Nationals, but the World Championships. It's the first Dice Masters World Championships that have been held for 3 years. So the first thing we obviously need to do is to check in with the person who is about to be dethroned and will no longer be World Champion. Ben, how are you feeling?
Pretty terrible. No, fine, sure.
You're not going to Memphis, are you, this time?
No, it's just...
You couldn't work it out.
It's not really a World Championship, is it, really?
Well, it's kind of strange that they're doing 2 together. What you mean, because you're not there?
Yeah, me not being there.
Okay.
It's like having a World Cup without Brazil, or like... It's just, do you know what it is? It's the World Series of baseball, isn't it? The World Series of baseball, there's only American teams.
Where nobody outside the US can play. Yeah. Well, there might be some real other nationalities who might go along. And let's face it, Worlds have always been held in the US.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can but hope that it might come to these shores one day.
A rotation of different continents.
Yeah. I think maybe we're about as likely as to get the World Championships in Europe as we are to get the Super Bowl. Yeah, that's right. But no, things are kicking off on the 15th of September. There's going to be all kinds of stuff going down in Memphis, Tennessee. So that was where things were 3 years ago, right, Ben?
Yep.
And it's really all taking place again in the home of Elvis.
Very cool place, yes.
Yeah, no, it sounds great. I was looking at flights, but sadly, it's just way too hard to get there. Mm-hmm. From the UK, even it's like double flights and all kinds of them. You have to go to Detroit and all sorts. It's a disaster. Let's not talk about that. But on the Thursday, the 15th, it all starts with stuff like Rainbow Drafts, and then on Friday the 16th, there's going to be the Dice Masters US National Championships. And then, if that wasn't enough, and you haven't had enough Dice Masters, the next following day, Saturday, September the 17th, incidentally, my birthday, let's not forget that, you can take part in the Dice Masters World Championships. It's going to be exciting. And the people who contest the final of the US Nats apparently get a bye in the first round of the Dice Masters World Championships. So we assume that means they won't play in the first round of Swiss and we'll get an automatic win, we assume.
Yes.
But what are we expecting? Peter, what is going to be ruling the roost, do you think, come US Nats / Worlds? Who's going to win? Well, not who's going to win Worlds. What is going to win Worlds?
I think it is a team consisting of dice and cards.
Really? Well, that is the sort of insight that people come to our channel for. Thank you for that.
It's probably going to be Master Mold or Barry.
Can you pick one?
I think Master Mold is more consistent.
You think Master Mold's more consistent, James?
I agree, because Master Mold doesn't need to field all those psychics. It's not relying on that, as Ben mentioned. So yeah, probably Master Mold.
All right, Ben, you've been bigging up Master Mold all evening.
I can tell you the exact 10 cards that are going to win if you want.
No, don't do that. Don't do that, because that would be bad. But you're feeling Master Mold, I can tell.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, before most competitive tournaments, I sort of know what's like. Even before the Worlds where I won it, I knew Iceman was good, and Iceman was like the big thing going into that. But I knew I could beat Iceman.
Yeah,
I've played against this Master Mold team like 30 times and tried all different things, and I can't beat it.
Wow.
So the only way I can beat it is basically trying to rush the exact same team against him and then get lucky. So if that doesn't win, I don't know. There's something someone's had a very unlucky tournament.
Or someone might have found a left field answer.
Or someone, the good thing is...
Stun token. Who knows? Who knows?
The good thing is if you can find a way to stop Master Mold... But then the thing is, I don't think you can find a way to stop Master Mold and then still win.
Can I just say, with this stun token business, where I did a video with Jason the other day where I tried to put it into practice, and I wouldn't rely on that as a strategy.
It's a good.
You need to buy, let's say, for example, Drax and on your first turn, and then on your second turn, Arctic Breath, and you need a prep global, which I forgot, but I think I've done it in 2 different games, and trying to line, first of all, trying to roll a character and an action die at the same time. It's practically impossible. And I kept them in sync for like 2 or 3 turns in one of the games that I played. Never managed to roll them both simultaneously.
Really?
Invariably didn't roll the character and did roll the Arctic Breath, which sucks. And then eventually it gets out of sync, and then you're not rolling them at the same time, and it just becomes infinitely harder. So it's great, and I'm sure it can work, but I don't think it's very reliable.
The thing is with that Arctic Breath thing is you're relying on them having their only piece of removal as the force attack.
Yeah.
And that Robin is such good removal and you bring it for the global anyway because you need it for the global.
The one who does X damage.
Good,
X damage based on the number of character dice that you have in your field. Yeah.
It's so you're basically setting them. Yeah, it works, and you can make it work sort of, but you only stop the force attack portion of the removal.
Yeah.
And probably after they've already bought the thing that they needed to buy anyway.
Yeah.
So you're not getting the stopping the buying thing. You're only getting the stopping the
fielding.
Yeah. It's a nice little trick though. Stun. So because the stun token can only be removed. So when something is stunned, just for the benefit of people who don't know, something can't block or attack. The owner of the card can play 2 energy when they could use a global to remove that stun token, but only the owner. So you can't. It's not like your opponent can say, "Oh, I'm going to take your stun token off," because they can't. Them's the rules.
I'll put a link to the video in the show notes.
Do you know what would be really
Please
good?
Do.
If we had that, was it Orc Boys? It wasn't Orc Boys. When it was Orc Boys. Global, the one that let you give a character range.
Oh yeah.
So if you could give their team, if their Master Mold range 1, and then you had a Shazam, so when they attack, you can just shoot them all off.
Oh right, yes. Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so if you're going with Shazam, right?
Well, so my thing is
2/7 costs.
No. So my thing is you have the Barry, so you can win really quickly against teams you need to win against. Yeah. If you don't have, but then if they have a Master Mold going very quickly or Barry going very quickly, you instead pivot to the Shazam.
Okay.
And then just keep clearing their field, and then hope you can get to 20 damage with the Shazam stats plus whatever other characters you can get through.
He's a big basher, isn't he?
He is, and then other stat like I had Harley Quinn on my team who is 4 attack on top level, or Orion who you might want for the global anyway, who has good stats anyway. Or the Robin has
there's plenty of stats.
Yeah. So you
Shazam
don't rely.
Is fun.
So yeah, you don't. So what I'm saying with that Shazam, I think it's possible.
Have you found your sound effects machine again, James?
So I think there's a human sound machine.
I think there's an outside chance that you can win against the Master Mold and Barry with a Shazam plus other low cost characters with stats.
Yeah,
but I don't know how that team would work out if it just was just that. Again,
I will play it in a video soon.
Is this one that's in the bag, James, or one that you're about to do?
No, what's in the bag is all the Dice Fight stuff. But whilst that's going out, I will investigate the Shazam. So.
The other thing I was thinking about with was the Rare Bizarro as the Barry Allen player, because a lot of the time I found myself like the turn I needed to win, I was a couple of attackers short or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You thinking about Star? You're not talking about Starro. You're talking about Rare Bizarro.
No, Rare Bizarro. So you can just throw that in your bag. Just
get an extra Overcrusher.
Yeah.
Oh,
because you were using the Beast, right?
Yeah, but actually, I hardly ever played it.
But because it's a win more card, and you have to buy it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas a Bizarro, you don't have to buy it. You can just throw it into your bag and then win.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
But you have to make sure because it's on your main steps. You have to make sure they're not going to draw their thing and benefit from it on their next turn.
Yeah,
true.
Yeah.
Now here's one for you, Ben. Obviously, US Nats are on the Friday. Worlds are on the Saturday. If you were playing, would you play the same team?
No.
All right.
But again, that also has to do with whether I know what's going to win and whether I can get. Generally, when I play, I like playing something that isn't the main thing that's going to win. That's generally why I didn't play Master Mod as well.
Yeah.
Because I know Master Mod is the best thing. So if I can find something that beats the best thing, then that's generally a better place to sit.
Yeah, I know what you mean about that.
So I wouldn't. But then at the same time, with this meta, you might just want to get as many reps in as you can. Because Master Mod and Barrier are just by far and away the best thing.
They are.
So actually playing them. So maybe some of your better tech pieces you hide. Like there's a couple of tech pieces I can think of on the Master Mod team in particular, which are very strong.
Yeah.
Against Barry.
Yeah.
So maybe I wouldn't use them.
Yeah.
Because it's more important to win at Worlds than it is to win at the other tournament.
That minor tournament that covers the country consisting of 300 million people or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, Ben would obviously go for the double.
Yeah,
both, but... yeah. You want both those Yu-Gi-Oh.
But
clean sweep.
But when I won Worlds the day before was like the qualifier or whatever it was. When I knew Iceman was the best thing, the day before Worlds I played Iceman.
Yeah.
So that everyone would waste time teching against Iceman when I was going to use Green Lantern the following day.
Oh, yeah. 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 Well, if you are an absolute glutton for punishment, on the Saturday, September the 17th, you can take part at 3 p.m. in a Dice Masters Global Escalation event. That will be absolute carnage.
Yeah,
who would want to play Global Escalation now? Then there's like 3 zillion cards available. Oh, it's just going to be an absolute horror show, isn't it? That I feel like.
Is there anything in? Yeah, I mean, maybe that might be a bit. I don't know. Yeah. Team builder too. If you're a team builder,
I
bet the meta currently is quite fun.
Nick Wale will be all over that. I can assure you. The Global Escalation, he'll be building probably about 10 different teams.
No. Because he'll be judging.
He's judging.
Yeah.
But Peter, you're more of a tech team builder than I think the rest of us are.
That's
true.
Do
you think the current? Do you think so?
Definitely more than me.
No, you are. Yeah,
for sure.
You're a schemer.
Yeah. Do you think the current meta is interesting for team building?
I not so much. It's because there's only like 2 very good options, and then.
But all the cards around it, right? So you threw in Vulcan.
Yeah.
And then had to decide like to put in slingers as well as that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a last minute change. Because at first I had Arch Nemesis there for the global to deal with tokens, but I'm glad I changed that because there weren't that many tokens I had to worry about, and Vulcan could deal with the tokens handily. So the 0-2 plant tokens in particular.
Yeah.
So because I also had the uncommon Harley Quinn in there as a backup removal tool, although I didn't actually use it at any time because it was tricky to have something in use to roll for her.
What's her ability?
When she's KO'd, you can roll a character die from your use pile, and if it lands energy, you deal that much damage to a character, and if it lands a character, you can re-roll a character die on your opponent's team.
Nice.
So that can be. It was sort of a Hail Mary against Barry, but I didn't get it out in time against you.
Yeah, because that is theoretically removal on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
That's
So I was like,
interesting.
maybe if a situation might come up. She's a 2 cost.
3?
2.
Yeah.
2. Yeah, so she's pretty cheap. She's a max 2, which is a shame. But still, you're probably not going to buy more than 2 of her.
That's why, but yeah, I guess that's kind of what I mean by team. I guess maybe I didn't mean team building, but people who like obscure cards, it's quite interesting. Like the stuff like the Deacon.
Yeah.
Like there's space on your team to throw cards like that in.
Yeah, for sure. That is
think about uses, like one-time uses for cards.
Yeah. That's true.
I've got a tip. Sorry, I've got a tip. I don't really know if it's feasible because it's 4 cost, but that Super Rare Jubilee, well, it's no surprise. It's obviously very good, but in this particular meta, if you have an occasion and an opportunity to buy it, it's quite good because, again, it's on your opponent's turn. You can field psychics and remove stuff.
Yeah.
And if you are playing Barry Allen and they wipe out your field somehow with, for example, Vulcan, then you might be rolling 6 or 7 psychics.
Yeah.
for Jubilee next set, assuming she didn't also get wiped out, which might happen. But you might refield her and then refield another 4 psychics, which is pretty good. So I've found in testing that she was pretty good. Although I don't know if you've space to buy a 4 cost piece like that.
Were there any Thors whatsoever? Because people speculated that Barry Master Modern Thor would be.
There were some Thors, but I think people mostly use it for the global.
In Dice Fight XL?
Yeah, Dice Fight XL.
Well,
Nick
has very helpfully put together an analysis of all the teams that appeared, and there were 2 copies of Thor, Jormungand's Fear, and I think that, as you say, that people mostly used it for the global because they wanted to buy action dice from Warp for cheaper.
Yeah,
because it's rather hard. I mean, back to the old conversation, it's rather hard to keep them in the field, eh?
Yeah.
But yeah, and the other thing we should mention is there is also, which I think will be interesting, 10:30 a.m. on Sunday, the 18th of September. There's going to be a Pauper Dice Masters event, or Pauper. I think our friends across the Atlantic would call it, which is usually when you are limited to only playing with common cards. I don't know if these are common cards from the modern rotation or whether it's common cards from the whole of Golden. It doesn't actually say, no, in the listing. I mean, obviously, Pauper from the modern meta, I would assume would be what they'd be going for, but that might be a bit. That might be a bit.
I remember somebody asking for clarification on
bland.
that. I think it might
be. Oh, really?
Oh, Laurier, indeed. But I don't know what the answer.
Otherwise, that's a bit crazy, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. What's going to win that? What's the good commons? Harley Quinn.
Nothing from
Poison Ivy.
Yeah, but those are not really winning.
Not win cons, are they?
Much.
No. Yeah, well, answers on a postcard. I guess we will.
What's in my pile? Let's have a look.
We need a.
Maybe anti-monitor. Is that a common? No, that was an uncommon.
The
No, wait. The common anti-monitor. That was pretty good.
You can do Living the Dream. Magneto is a common.
Oh, yeah. And then maybe the common and Harley Quinn.
Harley Quinn common.
And common Dark Phoenix.
There's your winning pauper team.
Yeah.
Thank you, James. That's the box ticked. And maybe a Deathbird as well. She's a common, and the Deadly Deathbird, she's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Although sadly limited to only 2. Good. All right. Well, that is our preview of the Dice Masters stuff that's going to be going on in Memphis. Good luck to everybody who's involved. We'll be eagerly awaiting the news on. Well, I guess will it be the night for us of 16th and 17th of September to find out who's going to be winning those tournaments. Do we know if there's going to be any streaming going on? Have we heard anything along those lines?
I don't know.
Not a peep that I've heard, but I don't have my ear quite to the ground as I should, I suppose.
There's going to be a fan appreciation event, isn't there? So we hope to get some juicy little tidbits from stuff that's going to be happening in the future. But well, let's hope there might be a bit of streaming because there was previously, so that would be good. Okay, well, with that, let's move on to the next segment. All right, well, since we've been away, there have been some rulings. The WizKids Brains Trust have been getting together and they've cranked out a few rulings on the WizKids Rules Forum. And we just want to pick up on a couple because they were very interesting. And actually, the big one, probably the one that everybody's been getting wrong. DM North posed the question a few days ago, have we been playing Drax wrong? Because we have been Drax's text, or rather the rare Drax from what says it? Infinity Gauntlet, that's the one. Says that when fielded, choose an opposing card, cancelling all previous choices. Your opponent may not purchase or field that character until Drax leaves the field zone. Now, someone posed the question of what happens if Drax leaves the field zone and then returns, for example, if he is intimidated, so is gone for a turn and then comes back or captured or whatever. Does he remember the choice that was previously made? And actually, I think most people have been playing it that if he was intimidated by something like a Gazer, when he returned to the field, he would remember. But the WizKids Brains Trust have told us, no, he does not remember. So if Drax is removed from the field in any way, when he returns to the field zone, he's completely forgotten the thing that he was preventing your opponent from, the thing that he was stopping your opponent from purchasing or fielding, which is kind of interesting, James, wouldn't you say?
I don't know. You've asked the wrong person because I didn't find this very shocking at all. But I think that may be because I haven't played competitive Dice Masters until, cranking out the videos recently. I had not played anything really for maybe a year or more. So perhaps I missed. I don't remember. It's also possible that I simply don't remember. That is another thing. But I don't remember this coming up particularly. But yeah, I'm sure it is shocking if you've been playing. Yeah.
Yeah, Peter, go on and you talk about it instead.
Yeah, I'm sure there have been a couple of games that would have gone differently had we played Drax the way it's supposed to be played back in the day. Although I never really used Drax myself much.
No.
So
Control.
I didn't really pay that much attention to it.
No,
but I played Gazer on occasion, so that could have come up for sure.
The good thing about it, I suppose, is that Drax was a stopping card.
Yeah.
So generally, at least it wasn't a winning card that we've been. It's not. At least it wasn't a win condition we've been playing wrong.
Yeah. Imagine if we'd been playing Becky wrong.
Yeah. But it is so. I mean, Gazer was everywhere.
Absolutely.
Drax was everywhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So undoubtedly, people intimidated off Drax just so they could field that one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the other thing was that Becky was very commonly used with Gazer because they shared the same energy type as her global and then obviously her die. So there were a lot of times when I watched games where people have used Gazer in conjunction with Becky and people have used Drax to try to slow Becky down.
Yeah.
And that I'm sure there have been many occasions when someone has used Gazer to intimidate Drax off, and then he's come back. Everybody thought he's remembered, because basically other cards such as, let's think of something like Shriek from the previous meta that was ruled. So Shriek Sonic Beam, for example, when fielded, choose an opponent's character card, replacing all choices while Shriek is active. Ignore that card's text. And it was ruled, I think it was for this particular card, that if she was removed from the field and then came back, she would remember when she returned to the field. Mm-hmm. And the distinction seems to be here is that any card that has a while active ability will remember when they come back.
Can I just say, maybe another reason that I wouldn't have noticed, and maybe other people wouldn't have noticed, is that the difference between Shriek and Drax is that when Shriek comes back, she's still a pain in the arse. But when Drax comes back, you've just fielded the thing you wanted to field, so you don't care anymore.
Usually just the one turn would be enough to get around him anyway.
Yeah.
What happens after that is sometimes irrelevant, I think.
Well, thing, but if you think about the way Becky would work as well, though, if you intimidated it off the field to Becky, and then swung through, they'd let the Becky through for 7 damage.
Yeah, sure. When she came round again. So they would have to get rid of their Drax. And without... But more often...
Dark Phoenix,
if they were swinging through with Becky, they would force Drax to block Becky.
Well, no, Drax wouldn't.
Unless they needed to get rid of Drax to field Becky in the first place.
Yeah. Or you would force someone else to block Becky so that she would stay in the field, ideally. More often than not.
Sure.
True.
That people were keeping their fields clear so that Becky only went through for 7 instead of 14.
Yeah.
But basically, I don't think anyone would have played Drax. If we'd known this was the way it worked.
Yeah.
I don't play him anyway.
He's too expensive to field. Yeah, I mean, he's I'm with you, Ben. I think that if people had realised this was how it was supposed to be played, then it would have been far less prevalent than it has been.
Yeah,
always feels too. I'm not really into anticipatory things. I'd rather have something like what's it called, Typhoid Mary, or
you want instant gratification, don't you?
No, that deals with it. Deals with the problem once it's there, rather than trying to...
You're trying to shut the stable door after the horse has bolted.
I'm trying to erase the writing on the stable door when the horse is grazing happily in the field.
Well, the good thing, I suppose, is that the thing about Drax was that it stopped them buying it in the first place.
Yeah.
If you get it up,
that is a pain as well. Yeah, that is a pain. Yeah, so anyway, if you've been playing Drax, you've probably been playing it wrong, so don't do that anymore. The other one that we've got is quite interesting, because obviously just a few weeks ago we had the incident involving Zod, Zodgate, maybe we could call it, where General Zod, whose text read, let's just read it out. Do we need to go over this now? I don't know that we do, but I think people will remember. Anyway, basically, he says, while General Zod is active, your psychic dice get +2/8 and count as bolt character dice. In addition to being psychic character dice, people were posing the question of, would that trigger Rush with psychic dice? And WizKid said yes. James was happy. He did a video. It worked amazingly. Then 24 hours later, they said no, and James cried. And now it seems as if the same thing's happened again, although maybe not quite in such dramatic circumstances. But
I've not been crying this time.
No, James has certainly not been crying. James, what has happened with Uncommon Storm?
Oh, wow. Okay. Can I just mention that I have done a really nice, not to blow my own trumpet, but I did a really nice page with not only these rulings, but also all of the keyword references that might be relevant for you. So if you want context for your rulings, I will put the link in the show notes.
Nice one. It is good, James. I read it. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I do. Fancy. Yes. Storm says when... it's complicated. This. Do I really have to? So Storm says when fielded, target character die with 3 attack or less can't be blocked this turn. And I think the question... Well, basically the question is whether the target die, which is unblockable, has to keep its attack, has to have less than 3 attack 3 attack or less when it attacks or when the storm is fielded. So that's the crux of the issue. And the ruling says Storm's ability is triggered when she's fielded, yes. At that point, a target character die, this is the original ruling, a target character die must be selected that meets the condition 3 attack or less. If that target die maintains this condition, it cannot be blocked. However, if this condition is no longer met before the declare blockers portion of the attack step, the target die can now be blocked. Which is not really, that's not how we expected it to go. We thought that, you selected it, and then it became unblockable, and you could basically then manipulate the attack using stuff like Dr. Fate, and it was a little bit of shenanigans.
Superman,
Unblockable is powerful, but it wasn't, really OP. So it was a bit of a surprise that they ruled it that way, that it basically has to stay as 3 attack or less. And then, what was it, a day later or something?
Yeah.
The very next day. Yeah. Do you have the second ruling? Because I haven't added to that to the page just yet. I will do before we release this podcast.
It's more U-turns than the Boris Johnson government, isn't it, this? That's what I'm saying. Okay, I've got the thing. And they subsequently said, we have received several questions on this ruling. And after further review, the previous ruling is rescinded. Storm's ability is triggered when she is fielded and resolved immediately. The target die meeting this condition 3A or less can't be blocked. If the target die's attack value is changed in any way, it is still unblockable.
Now, if they just left it there, then, I think we'd be like, yeah, all right. We don't really understand the logic for it, but, okay, that's kind of what we expected. But then they go on to say some...
In comparison, if an ability stated when fielded, target character die with 3 attack or less must block this turn, a persistent effect is created because the application of that ability is dependent on the future game state (brackets). In this case, whether or not an attack step is initiated (close brackets). Full stop. Here, if the target die's attack value exceeds +3A before the declare portion of the attack step, then that die does not have to block. We apologise for the confusion.
Dear God, can I just try and summarise that? Because that probably meant nothing.
You lost me at full stop.
Basically, they are saying in the re-ruling that when the text says it cannot be blocked this turn, that is an applied effect which takes effect immediately, and it can't be undone, and it doesn't matter what you do to it later. It happens instantly, so that the target die has to have 3 attack or less at the moment when she's fielded. Yeah. And then you can fiddle with it, which is what we thought it would be.
And makes sense.
And if they just left it at that, everybody would be happy, probably. Yeah. But then they said, if the effect was when she's fielded, target die with 3 attack or less must block, is that what it was?
Yeah, that's right.
The opposite, must block. Then the situation is completely different for some unknown reason.
Yeah.
And you'll have to read the ruling for yourself, but I can't figure out why one of them should be one way and the other one should be the other way. It's confusing.
It is confusing. So if the thing that you said can be unblocked has an attack of more than 3, they can still be unblocked. But the thing, if it's something that must block and it has 3A or less, but then it has more than 4 at the time when the blockers are declared, it can't.
It does make sense if you think about the globals that grant those similar abilities. So. The force block global is
persistent.
Not a persistent effect. Sorry, a persistent effect. Yeah. So something like nefarious broadcast cancels the must block.
Yes.
Yeah, because the part where they have to block hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
Whereas the when fielded ability to give it unblockable, it almost gives the text unblockable to that character. So that is fully resolved it's like giving it +1 attack. It has +1 attack that's done with. Nefarious broadcast would not cancel it.
So it's a characteristic of the die rather than...
it becomes a characteristic of the die,
a future game state.
Whereas... But I don't know how you'd write that for the opposite way. So if you think about it in the way that if this was a global, could nefarious broadcast cancel it? So you think about the Miss Sinister global that gives a character deadly. Nefarious broadcast wouldn't cancel that, right?
Yeah.
because that character would have deadly already.
Yeah.
That's fully resolved that it has deadly for this turn.
Well, I think that's the thing. Like that, they should start templating so that they make better use of keywords, and this card gains such and such a text, and then it becomes quite clear.
Yeah. But it's like
Yeah. So we remain slightly baffled by the second part of that ruling, but
we're happy with the ruling.
But we're happy,
for
sure. Yeah.
This is a fun combo.
Definitely is. Yeah, no, anything unblockable shenanigans are always good, if maybe not top tier, but always fun nonetheless. There are a bunch of other rulings that went up on or around Saturday, August the 27th. It was a big day for the Brains Trust over at WizKids. It seems on Dice Master front, they've been pumping out a bunch of other rulings. We won't go into any of the others now for the sake of your sanity, but if you're having trouble sleeping, then maybe you want to have a little look on some of them in the next few days, or maybe if you're going to Worlds and you're thinking about playing into those cards, then you definitely need to know what's going on. But we don't think there's anything particularly major to worry about. Let's leave that where it is and move on to our final segment. Okay, it's just AOB. I think the only thing we've got on the AOB front, James, is to mention the regular Thursday Dice Fight. What's coming up in the calendar over the next few weeks on the Thursday night online event. 3 rounds, 9 p.m. UK time, 10 p.m. Central European time. Earlier, if you're on the other side of the Atlantic. Are you ready, James, with the 8th and the 15th of September, or are you still scrolling through?
Well, no, I've got it. I've got it up, but unfortunately, well, okay. So it's organised by the aforementioned Danny and Rick, and again, as ever, always many thanks to them.
Yes,
they also have been scheduling and calendaring the events. So I'm just reading from the calendar, and the one which is on September the 8th says Strictly Silver. I know what that is. Strictly Silver. Basically, the silver card pool is from the shinies onwards.
Yeah, Green Arrow and the Flash,
right?
isn't it?
So the first, that would be right. The first set with the foil cards was Green Arrow and the Flash. So silver we've defined to mean anything from that point onwards, and Strictly Silver means that minus modern. So,
yeah.
That's pretty clear, and that's a red event, another red event. So that could be quite fun, actually. It's a little bit less intimidating than Golden, which is a bit of a just fine. It's too much for me. Anyway, so that's
Pandora's
fun.
box,
indeed. And then September the 15th has been named 5x5. It's a Golden event, and it's green, so it's obviously fun, not too competitive. I can only speculate what 5x5 actually means. In fact, I can't even speculate what 5x5 means. I would have to check with them.
Does it mean that you have 5 cards on your team, but you also draw 5 dice each turn?
5x5. Could be. I don't know. Yeah. Listen, the best thing to do in this case is follow the Facebook page, because I'll put it on the. In fact, I haven't been doing that lately, but I will start putting the Dice Fight stuff back on as reminders. That's a good idea.
Again, yet more of the analysis that the listeners come to expect from DM United. 5x5, we haven't got a clue, but it will be on the Dice Fight page, and we will put a link in the show notes if you want to get involved with Thursday night stuff. It's a little group, but it's always a lot of fun, and the no prize is 3 rounds. So if you fancy a bit of Dice Masters action on the Thursday evening, then do get involved. If you want to drop us a line on anything that we've talked about, if you want to tell us what you think is going to win Worlds, is it going to be something else? Is Shazam suddenly going to rise to the top in a shock move, or will Barry Allen, after all, find a way of zipping through somehow? It would be great to hear from you. Or if you want to vent about any of the rulings or any of your Dice Fight XL reflections, then do drop us a line. James, the email address to use is
hello@dmunited.eu.
Yeah, I had to make you sit forward in your chair then, didn't you? You weren't expecting that.
Yeah, I got distracted for a minute.
If you want to leave us a nice little like or a review. Don't forget also to subscribe using your favorite podcast app so be the first to know about a new episode when it drops. Otherwise, we will see you again on the next episode. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.